Kia ora and welcome to the Aotearoa Rugby Pod for another big weekend. We're less than a month away from the Rugby World Cup. We're in full-on countdown mode. So today we'll split the show in two. First half of the show we're going global, looking at all the international action, the squads, how France went on the weekend, that Owen Farrell tackle. Jeez, Owen again. And then the back after the show, we're going to have a tight head special. We've got Tamaiti Williams, the monstrous All Blacks prop, seen as the future of our front row player here in New Zealand, and also Amy Rule on the announcement of the WXV, this key competition for women's rugby globally, where the best in the world are coming to New Zealand for WXV 1 in October and November. We're going to have a chat with her about what that competition means for the Black Ferns and for women's rugby in general, as well as, geeking out, of course, as we always do on elements of tight head play or whatever else it might be. So that's the show ahead. Joining me for the show, as always, on my left, Bryn Hall.
Hello, good to be here.
And James Parsons.
How are?
Guys, look, let's start with Owen Farrell because it's unbelievable this guy's been to tackle school. I've failed some classes in my time, physics in particular. I remember being pulled in front of the teacher and told I'd let myself down. But look, this guy, I don't know what he got out of tackle school, but if it's a shoulder to the head with an armless tackle, that's not what they should be teaching.
Probably looking at the wrong DVD possibly. I don't know what the tackle technique is because, I think considering how much kind of ill discipline he has it around that space, you'd have to think that it's going to be a 3 or 4 week job because he's done the tackling kind of introduction and then again 6 months later, I think he did it in January possibly, or that kind of time period, to now still be in that same position. So it'll be interesting to see what World Rugby do, Jip, because as a spectator you want to see him play, but at the same time there has to be precedence around the tackle's choice.
It's pretty clear, like your record's going to come into it, but it's not to defend him, but doing the tackle school is one thing. That's a period of time where you're focused on just your tackling because you're not playing and you're getting yourself back to get that, reduced suspension. But under pressure, the most rehearsed action will come to the floor. And maybe he needs to, do some, specific tackle work continuously for the rest of his career to bring about that change, because it's not like he wasn't intentionally trying to do it, but clearly he's tackled that way for a long time, and 1 week or a couple of training sessions isn't going to change that. So he needs to make it more. His habit is going low, and it was a situation where Wales were hot on attack, and he really wanted to stop it and probably wanted to be a little bit too dominating, and he just got it wrong. But I think the suspension, unfortunately it's not at the right time, but the suspension might be lengthy and would impact the World Cup.
It has to be at least 3 to 4 weeks, or possibly even 6 weeks, considering his track record. And I think as a player as well, I love Owen Farrell, and he's such a great player on the world stage that you want to be able to see the world's best play, but man,
I don't think they'll even take into account that the World Cup, they've just got to look at it as an incident. Well, I don't think they will. It's just, it'll cause too much of a stir.
Yeah.
They've got to throw the book at him, surely. Last time he had it reduced because of tackle school and remorse from 6 weeks to 3 weeks or whatever it was. This time around, surely it's got to be 6 weeks.
Well,
because it's his third time in international footy since 2016. It is a lot.
Well, that's why I'm interested to see what the actual sanction is and how long it's going to be, because I think it's pretty clear. And I keep coming back to, I want him to be able to play, but man, he's got a track record, and so if it's anybody else, or it's you want to have consistency, it's a 6 weeks. It's a 6 weeks job.
I think, having got it wrong myself in my career once, when I hit the person, they were knocked out, but I went straight to their aid because I knew they were in trouble. So that remorse factor, it does actually get factored in. I obviously still got punished, and probably at a different period where these weren't such a big focus, so it wasn't probably as heavy as it would be now. But I'm not sure he probably showed that on this occasion.
He didn't. Dan Bigger, in his article on I think it was the Daily Mail, he basically said he told him to stop complaining. And they were mouthing off. That was, two guys ready to go at each other on the field, and they didn't show a guy who just knocked a bloke in the head and shown a lot of remorse.
I think it's pretty hard in that right then and there. Emotions are high, obviously. But
I know, but if they've factored in the remorse previously, it's going to be hard to go in there and factor it in this, because that's
I agree, right.
Yeah.
He's in a lot of trouble, man.
That's troublesome for them. They're lucky that they've got some good backup 10s.
Very good backup.
But, at the same time, he's the leader.
He's a big leader, yeah.
Massive. You'd have to, he's one of the best players in the world, and his experience, you can't buy that experience around You know, from all accounts, he's competitive as how he leads well, and so a massive part of that England DNA. So look, if you're going to lose him for a long period of time, they are on the easy side of the draw, which could help them if he ends up playing at the back end.
But I don't know if that's the case anymore. As these weeks up to the World Cup start,
if Scotland's anything to go by, geez,
they're really starting to, you know, the pitch is starting to change a little bit.
Dupont, wow, you were rather impressed again.
Oh man, when are we not impressed with him? I just think, man, his ability that if you're a defensive team and you're consistently playing him, you have to be on for 80 minutes of a test match. And when games are tight, you know, we've done probably in our times, you preview people and you're like, all right, this is the guy that's got a head on a stake and this is the guy that we're going to concentrate on. You have 3 or 4 guys that you consistently think about. But you look at, I think, you know, Intermac's try, he was a part of that. Pinode's try, he was a part of that. The 44th minute try, he was a part of that from counter-attacking as a fullback. Look, his ability to be able to have big moments in games with whatever that looks like, if it's a long pass, if it's a 50-22, if it's a tackle, if it's an intercept, if it's like a counter-attacking as a fullback, that's the reason why he's the best player in the world, because I don't see any other halfback, apart from Jamison Gibson-Park, who has some traits around that. There's nobody out like him in the world. No,
not when he's on, but I do think there's a balance between respecting a player and then, you know, sort of probably over-respecting it. And by that, if you look at Intermark's try, it wasn't the best down line.
Yep.
But the Scottish, they just let him run. Like, and even down that blind side, you know, it almost needs, you know, I've used it for David Pocock previously. He was the best at the turnover. So our plan was to run at him, make him tackle at least, because then it means, you know, he's got a harder job to get the turnover. You know, Aaron Smith, I've been a part of teams where, you know, if he passes, then you can, you know, almost tackle him, just hold him, you know, get them off their game a little bit. But he was just given full licence, and I would rather see them on their line, Intermark's try, shoot up, at least get in his face, at least, you know, make there be a decision. You know, and if he has to throw that big ball and he's capable of it, I know that, and people will be like, oh, well, they would have just scored anyway. But you can get in there, you know, get in the face and you know, sort of do it on your terms. Just waiting, that was, and there was disconnect. Defensively, I was just surprised that they were that passive on their line.
It probably comes back to like 2 things. I remember like Aaron Smith's a really good example. Like, how do you stop Aaron Smith? You give him really slow ball. And then the ability of that is your heart defence. Your first 3 defenders either side of the ruck are actually set, and then you can be able to put pressure on if he wants to taxi. So, for example, for Dupont, if you slow down that ball a little bit and you've got 2 or 3 guys of either side of the ruck, they're all knowing that, right, you come into my space, we're going to take you out, we're going to slow down the ball. But yeah, I think
check him as well.
Yeah,
like, you can always slow. Even half a second to these guys is massive.
I remember a game we played. We were playing for Harbour, and I think it was we were playing Bay of Plenty, and I think it was Alex Ainley at the time. And Mike Delaney talked to me after the game. They said, for the first 20 minutes, we just wanted Alex Ainley just to put you on the ground for 20 minutes, push off the ball. And I remember like going in 20 minutes, how red I was because I was getting tackled off the ball, I was getting held back, I was getting slow to the ruck, so that was frustrating me. And so like, there actually are plans in place, and it does work, especially for a halfback. You get touched, you're so angry in the sense that you're not getting that ball quick, and guys are like, get to the ruck, get to the ruck. But whether that can be done or not, I think it can be done.
Definitely,
it takes
done, but it takes
hard to do.
A plan. I don't know if it is hard. Like, you know, you're going to have to win the collisions to have the initial slow ball. But I mean, you've seen it time and time again over the years. Teams that have got the best player, they will get targeted.
So if you're in that position as a halfback, and let's say that in the next game, Dupont gets targeted badly, what does he do to prevent, you know, the niggle, the shoulder, the whatever it is to take him out of play for that split second?
Well, it comes back the following week. Like I remember when that happened to me, you know,
we got blown up.
We got blown
forwards.
up.
Oh yeah, it all starts up front.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
But it's true.
Yeah. It is.
If you're gonna let that happen, I remember the day we had it on Aaron Smith, and it was like 2 or 3 times, and then Jared Hoyata was for the Highlanders, and he just stopped playing, and he was just trying to have a scrap with a few guys that were on top of, you know, Aaron, and because it is your role. Like it's the same in defence. If your halfback's making more than 3 tackles as a type 5, you're not doing your job. So that's how it'll get sorted. Is they'll sort it for you. Because if you're worrying about that, like it does distract. It doesn't matter even if they're not having an impact. It will distract. which is the whole design of the...
And it took me probably about 5 minutes just to get out of the red, because then it goes back to you go off your task for that 5 minutes, and for whatever reason, that test match level, that might be a situation that you miss out on.
Yeah.
And also, I think another solution around that is then the following week, you might have a talk to your refs around, look at this off the ball work that's been happening, and you show clips. So then at least you cue the ref for the following week, but by then, the damage is already done. So it's just being able to talk to the forwards and then cue the ref as well.
Yeah. What's Dupont doing at the back? You don't really see halfbacks back there. You see 10s, you see 15s, you see wingers back there. What's he doing at the back, orchestrating counter-attack?
Because he can.
Yeah.
It's just the reason. He must just.
He's the boss.
He must just have a floating role within that team. The amount of times that he can get his hands on the ball for the carry meters and giving him an opportunity to use his flair and his footwork and his power and his speed. That's a great way for him to be able to do that, and especially when it kicks along and you've got a tiring chase that Jip alluded to around when they went and scored that try. He's one of the best in the world to do it. So that's why he's such a great player. He's a hybrid.
He works extremely hard, though, to get himself in those positions. I'm sure other halfbacks may be able to do it. It would be out of system, of course, so there's no need. I'm not really trying to compare him to other halfbacks, but he just wants to be involved. He wants to be the guy. And I do think he works pretty early around those kicks to have an impact, have a role, which if it works for them, then so be it. But I don't know this, in terms of that, teams could potentially manipulate it if he's got to cover that short kick space and he goes too early. And so, teams will be doing their review. There'll be a way to, break it down.
What's it like getting into the squad and getting onto the bus early and all that kind of stuff?
Man, it's crazy. Your phone's blowing up. It's hard to get comms with people because you're just replying to messages because you don't want to be rude. But then you have the trainings, and just another level. Days are longer, so it's a lot to take in. But there's no place you'd rather be, really.
Now, your debut, mate, obviously, especially where you're coming from, talked about it earlier last week, I heard, obviously it's very emotional for you from where you've come from, for All Blacks to be able to put that All Black jersey on. I guess talk us through the week, what it was like, doing the haka, the game itself, but I guess more so just the week that it was when you first knew you were going to be named, and also who told you and where did it happen?
Man, I didn't get told anything. I was just sitting in the meeting, listening to the boys, because I was thinking it's a massive test match, so my hopes went high, so I was just sitting there, and then when it got to 17, when I heard my name, I was the rest of the meeting is a blur because I was just sitting there in shock. But for the week, it was surprisingly, it was just a normal week, the boys kept it as simple as they could for me. The only thing was around the media and a bit more, it was special too, because everyone was excited. But in terms of the week, it's just, the elder boys in the teams just come up to you and say, it's another week, you got to prepare the same, and it was special.
Singing the national anthem, obviously you would have had a lot of whānau there.
Yeah.
How was that, and doing the haka as well? A little bit different to the Māoris. I hear you don't challenge for a spot on the haka.
Nah, far back left. Grateful to be in there.
Yeah.
But the anthem, bro, I was trying so hard not to cry.
Yeah.
I guess a little bit overwhelming, you're standing in a line and you're looking out and you're playing for your country. But the haka was definitely the highlight of my night, as a little Māori boy, I'm sure, as you would know as well.
Yep.
It's only something you could dream of in front of a TV, but when being out there it's different.
Yep.
Special.
Sounds like an amazing experience.
Yeah.
And against the Springboks, no less, it's a place to do it.
Yeah, and I my first year in Super Rugby was the year after they left, so I've never versed the Springboks, the South Africans, and man, all the stories are true, they hit hard and they're just rapid. Yeah.
How'd you find that, Tams? How'd you find, obviously, first time playing? It was only 20 minutes, but obviously been able to experience the South Africans and what it might to feel like if you go to the World Cup playing against the French and the Irish, but bigger teams and a bit different from Super Rugby?
Well, I loved it. I think I spent the first 5 minutes chasing everything, and, but what they say, you don't try too hard, but I probably did try a bit too hard and got caught in some wrong places, but once I got to make a tackle and have a ball carry, it was fun because it's so physical, and I like that side of the game.
Yeah.
So it was fun.
Your fitness, you've talked around a lot in the media around your fitness. What did you change? What's the things that you've done? Obviously, Neil Tucker and Tux has been a big part for you at the Crusaders. What have you done in the last 12 months to get performances where now you're an All Black?
We have a saying, your best ability is your availability, and because I was so big, I was getting soft tissue injuries because I wasn't doing the work in the off season, or I just came in with a goal. I set a goal at the end of last year, is like, I want to turn up with Nick that I can just train every day at a good standard, which is what we drive down south. And that was the main goal. It all started there, and I think I got 2 weeks out from pre-season, and I weighed myself at 140, and I think I lost maybe 5 kilos over the break, and then I was stoked, but I wasn't satisfied. I started, now I can hit the gym, because you and I don't gym very much.
You don't need to, mate.
See me on a watt bike. Everyone else is doing squats and I'm sitting there on a watt bike. So, but it was a space I never have looked at. It was my recovery.
Yeah.
And I wasn't necessarily doing more training, but I just think the quality of training was better. Like, guys like Cody Taylor, he's a nerd. He's in the eye. He's doing cold showers, and so I thought if I could take a little bit of that, so when I'm at training, I feel all good, because I've never been a person I just rock up the training, train, go home, do no recovery. But yeah, that's the change of recovery. Just so I feel better at training and I can do more within training. Yeah.
So you like a cold shower now?
Depends how cold it is outside. Eh?
Don't lie, mate. You don't like it, mate. Don't lie. Nobody likes it.
I don't like cold showers in pre-season when it's 30 degrees.
For you guys like Cody Taylor, obviously having that kind of experience inside you, what has that been like, and how often do you kind of tap into their knowledge each day?
I'm lucky. Like, he's huge for us. He had to play a pretty big role for us this year because of our injuries. We lost a lot of experience due to injuries in the front row, and I kind of had to step up a little bit, and he was my mentor. He was saying, like, the best way you can lead is lead yourself. So that was also another, like, I had a good hard think to myself and what I could do for the team, because it was a tough year, bro. Like, I think we went through 48 players. Don't quote me on that, but it's somewhere around there. So having Codes take me under his wing just every day, it's special.
Talked a bit of code, just obviously I want to maybe lighten it up a little bit, Tams. I don't know who your roomie's been, but who's your roomie that you've had when you've first been on tour? They had you been with someone experienced, or have you had some of the young fellas with you?
My first roomie was Offa.
Oh, yeah.
It was cool, man. Stories with, like, he could tell a story to a war and the war loved it, He's a good storyteller. I loved it. And then I had Ethan Degree this week just gone, so yeah, and like, it's been cool.
Have you been on time? More importantly, you would have been at that bus probably 20 minutes earlier, knowing that you'd be at the front.
Time was the scariest thing. I remember my first night, because Offa's from Auckland, so he went home, and it was just me in my room, like my first day. And I remember, I think I went to sleep early as, like, early for me was like 9 o'clock or something. I woke up at 12:30, 1:30, 4, 5, and we didn't have to be in the team room till 8. So that's just when time's scary, man.
Yeah, nervous. You don't want to be the guy who's late to the All Black.
No, not on your first day, man. Not ever, actually.
Yeah. In the gear, obviously it would have been your first time getting all the gear. What was your favourite piece of clothing? Or I see you wearing the nice watch as well, so been looked after quite nicely by the sponsors, me old mate.
Yeah, great sponsors. Bro, when I walked into the kit room, I was like, you got to be joking. Like, it was like a warehouse just full of just kit, and you had this big box. You walked around, and you just everywhere, just pulling up. You're not going to wear half the stuff.
Yeah.
That much, like, you're going to give it to someone. But the Samba shoes, I'm not for people who like shoes. We've got some Sambas. So, people are lining up in other places to get them. So they're my favourite piece of kit.
That's the Adidas Samba. It's like a classic sneaker, that one, eh?
Yeah, it's in there.
They got your size, do they? Do they have your size?
Oh, bro, I actually don't have the biggest feet. It's size 13. So.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you're right then. You probably actually be all good then.
Size 8, man.
No, size 10, just battling.
There was a Crusaders guy with like size 17 feet. Who was that?
Cobus?
Yeah,
Luke Romano, eh?
I think it's a question on a drink. So.
Yeah, I think Luke Romano was like 17 and like could never get any form of like boots at all.
He has his pair of white shoes.
Oh, yeah.
And these white shoes have been everywhere in his career. Like, well, I mean, everywhere. It's everywhere. So
yeah, he'll wear a suit, and just like wear these white, like, I don't know, he would have had them for like 5 or 6 years, or 10 years maybe.
The soles are falling off. But those shoes are famous. So when those shoes retire, I'm pretty sure whoever gets them will be.
Yeah, he should have got 2 of those made.
Sure, bro.
You get a high rotation. Hey, mate, well, thank you very much for joining us on the podcast. Really appreciate your time.
No, thanks for having me.
Wow. I could not believe how big that bloke was when he walked into the studio. Tamaiti Williams, like, he's big, but everywhere. Like, he is just a humongous human being.
He's probably lost about 10 kgs as well, Ross. I think he talked around, obviously, his diet and I think being better in that space. And look, I think it leads to probably the reason of why he's been in the All Black squad. But yeah, mountain man, Big Jipper is a big fan of him. So being a big man himself with your shirt now, mate, you know.
Anyone that, you know, has that sort of presence on the rugby field, you only have to admire. With the skill set of a second five.
Yeah. Well, it's a good day for you, Jip, because it's the tight head special through the back half of the show.
It's great to have some people with some good common sense on the show.
Fair enough. Right then. Well, we're going to go from one tight head to another tight head, this time a world champion tight head. The WXV will be in New Zealand in October, November, the inaugural WXV. 3 weeks, all the best teams in the world in New Zealand, and the Black Ferns are going to have a really tough but exciting draw. France, a repeat of the semi from last year, taking on Wales as well, and then concluding against England after the round robin. The team with the most points will win that competition. Super exciting to say. Amy Rule joins us from down south. Amy, awesome to have you on the show. Thanks for joining us. Wow, how exciting. The WXV comes to town and you have those 3 teams to take on.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's super exciting, especially coming off a big year last year. It's cool to see the support and more games, more opportunities. Massive
success, the high of the World Cup, but no doubt you guys are looking to evolve your game. What have been sort of the key areas you've looked at with this new coaching group moving into this tournament? Building of like probably our pack 4, we really focus probably a bit of connection. Obviously, there's a new coaching side. There's probably a lot of new debutants coming through. After the World Cup, you obviously lose a lot of experienced players. Like we had a few retirements with like Kensha Coxedge and Renee Whitcliffe, and also the Sevens girls having their duties and stuff. So Pack 4 was definitely prioritising that connection piece and seeing how everything kind of was going to work together, and now our building into it is going to be a piece of really nailing skill set piece around the field, what we do around the park, and also we probably really need to be physical at set piece and probably show a presence, especially around rolling mauls.
If we look at the Rugby World Cup, look, we watched a lot of that in the studio, and we talked about the style that you girls are playing. Wayne Smith talked about a lot, running the ball from everywhere. It seems like you guys didn't want to kick the ball in that World Cup series. Has there been an involvement in your game? Obviously, we still want to have that attacking brain. Your breakdown area was great in the past 12 months. You still want to obviously use that flair. Have you guys tried to tinker on that, maybe the kicking style? I know obviously you're a prop and you might have that in your skill set possibly, but maybe overly with Mike Delaney being there and being able to use those attributes in your game as well? Is it a whole team?
I feel like I'm the only prop that doesn't kick at this rate. The kicking game, yeah, definitely. I think it's something you want to have that in your toolbox. If we're a threat with the ball, we're a threat with territory, I think that's a real opportunity. And the way the game's evolving, it's not even territory, is it? There's those chip kicks over that middle space. Like it's just, I think, yeah, a cool area for the backs to really prioritise and add it to our toolbox. So you just don't know what we're up to, really. No doubt
you won't like me saying this, but you are the benchmark, I suppose, in terms of tight heads in the game currently, and you've gone across a number of squads. Have you found, like, what did you take away? I suppose I'll use Chrono as an example. He's always about players coaching players, and he's almost just a conjoint. Have you found, going back to, I suppose, levels below that Blackfern level, that you've brought that into your style as a leader in those environments?
Yeah, I'm quite a nerd when it comes around the set piece and scrums, so that's my bread and butter, because I guess as a prop, that's my first job. I've got to really nail that before I can, and then whatever I do on the field is kind of a bonus, I guess. But yeah, I think in the women's game, it's a real lacking of probably resource of coaching space. I've been real fortunate. I've had actually my whole time playing rugby, I've probably had the best of the best. So I've been real fortunate to get that knowledge and wealth. But yeah, so trying to pass it on to girls that haven't had that opportunity and stuff, and help where I can. Because I think if we can create some world-class props throughout New Zealand, it helps me get better, it helps New Zealand get better, and we really need it. Top quality ball at the end of the day, so got to start from the front.
What are you girls talking about, what you girls are wanting more, I guess, to grow the game in the women's rugby?
There's two parts to that. There's probably consistent resourcing throughout New Zealand. There's obviously areas where people are doing it right. Matatu, Canterbury, a great example. I think Waikato, a great example. But even in our smaller areas, you've probably got some absolute talent. Like I'm from Southland, I had to move away from home to create opportunities. So probably creating resources and support in those lower levels, like those academy stages even, at the FVC level. So that's like another pathway. It's not a big leap. And with that Tasman comp, is actually a similar answer. I think before we merge together, because if you think our Super Rugby over here is semi-professional, like you've got an opportunity to train for a good third of the year. So, but over in Australia is probably resources and actually some consistent training and resource coaching and resources to see and just everything. So we've got some actual athletes to compete with before the competitions combine.
Jipper touched on it across multiple teams. So you had in Opiki, you had Matatu, then you went over and played for the Brumbies. Now you're playing for Canterbury. You've always got the Black Ferns as well. There's a lot of teams that you've been involved in, and that is, allowing you to play professionally for an entire year across multiple environments. How much benefit do you see in moving from one team to the next in different styles and different game plans? How's that evolved your game, being able to touch on all those different areas of knowledge?
It's been incredible. We're all fortunate to have the support to get the opportunities to go overseas, and as well as I think my biggest learning was there's no a right or wrong way of how to do things. It's just there's different ways to create opportunities. So just trying to grab gold nuggets from everywhere I go and trying to always evolve my game and see where I can get better in different areas. I think as simple as running lines, even how deep you play or how flat you play, I think there's benefits to both. There's benefits to everything. So it's just being able to adapt and try and be that player that can handle it all. I think that's the key thing I probably learned from my tour so far.
Is there an area of your game that, we all have work-ons that you're focusing on? And I know that people watching the show do like to hear about the technical elements. So what sort of drills are you doing to improve that area?
I probably stress. I'm quite an explosive athlete. So, and within my set, so that's really important to me to keep nailing one great at, because that's why you get selected. It's your superpowers is what you're good at. But my 20 will be definitely my bind. I'm probably the only tight head that doesn't use their bind, so that's been fun in that space. And as well as probably mauls and just trying to have that knowledge around the rules and stuff, how you can manipulate that and make my decision making real silky. So it's not I'm overthinking it or second guessing it. I'm just headed and making choices.
What do you mean by the only tight head that doesn't use their bind? Sorry, for a layperson, what does that mean?
I think a tight head, your bind is your key factor. Loose heads, if you haven't nailed your bind, that's probably the first thing your loose head's going to try to attack. So when I first started tight head, it was all about just using my chest and locking out and really just making it a battle for myself. But if I can keep my mind strong, then I give a loose head a bit of trouble to try and attack, really.
Just to go back a little bit, Amy, obviously want to talk about the World Cup a little bit, because correct me if I'm wrong, you were a part of that when you made your debut. You had that pretty tough series over in the Northern Hemisphere. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And so from there, we talked about a lot in our podcast around, I guess, the growth that you girls had shown. What in particular did you find that made you win that World Cup? Like, I thought your breakdown area and the way that you were attacking as a New Zealand team was a lot different from that time. Can you maybe give us an insight of why you thought you guys won the World Cup and what kind of led to them, what Wayne Smith really brought in that was the factor that really changed you girls to win that World Cup and make a massive transformation in 12 months?
It was probably having some honest and truthful conversations. This is probably a good nugget from Whitney Hansen. It's having the tough conversations with the right people and instead of having the easy conversations with the wrong people. So it's a piece around like we needed to be honest with each other of what wasn't working, what we need to do, and how we're going to do it. And it was probably pretty confronting. We had that big review process, and then obviously New Zealand Rugby supported us and like, okay, this is what we need. And then we obviously had some legends come into the game like Smithy, and Smithy's coaching style, it was very direct, it was very honest, and it was probably consistent with also having Bunting coming in with that cultural piece, keeping an eye on things as well. But yeah, that year we knew, I think it was being honest with ourselves, and it's like, it's going to be a tough time. And it's like you're all in or all out. And I think that's what we all chose, all in, and it all worked out well.
And so does that set a platform now for that kind of honest conversation? Is just something that happens every single day? It's not something that has to happen as a big conversation, it happens as a group of small conversations?
100%. There's always review places and like put in place now, but yeah, it's definitely the small conversations you have within. And it's also that I think a big word is trust that like within each other, that these conversations aren't to put each other down. Like we want the best from each other. Like we're a team, and we've got a job to do. So it's about being honest with each other and having trust.
Now, before we move on, weekend Canterbury, including your front row, which is epic in the FPC. Having you, Georgia Ponson, and Pip Love in the same FPC front row is kind of scary, I'd imagine, for the likes of Hawke's Bay. 84-14. It was a big win. Really good effort. You guys are looking very, very strong. You happy with the progress?
Yeah, it's awesome. The red and black is something special to us. It's a real family environment. It was awesome, like the first games, that seeing the young guns when they played against Waikato, like wasn't the result we were looking for, but awesome to see them showcase their skills and show the depth we have in Canterbury. But I always love scrumming with my buddies. I think we've been scrumming for a wee while now, so it's second nature. So that's awesome. And 2 more rounds building, and then we're into semis. So it's probably gone a lot quicker than I would like, but yeah, it's been epic.
They're my team. But hope you go well against Auckland in a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks so much for being on the show with us, Amy, and all the best for the rest of the year, including, of course, the WXV come October, November.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.